A British assassin to eliminate a professor in Japan. A Japanese assassin to eliminate a detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade conviction and return safely to their homelands. The assassin exchange request arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. No, it was hardly a request. It was a demand by the all-powerful British Empire.
And for that, you decided to recruit Asogi. But things didn't go according to plan. Your chosen assassin never made it, and you found yourself unable to dispatch a replacement. Because I was already on my way to Britain at the time in Cosmos Place. And you know, I'm not really... But a lawyer assassin? Oh my god. Ridiculous. You can only be so good at so many things, you know?
And that left me with my only option of carrying out my obligation. To eliminate the mark myself. Personally. Of course, there was but a single opportunity for me to do that.
The International Forensic Symposium.
That's right. I decided it would be safest to carry out the plan before my arrival in Britain. So I enlisted the help of my British counterpart. And made arrangements for a pretext that would take the inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham mission by the Reaper.
Wait, so you're not the Reaper? Who is?
There's only one person who could have done that. The mastermind of the entire operation. The Reaper himself.
So that means that the assassin exchange was... It was all planned by the Reaper too? It'll take a genius to figure it out. But we just need something to stick him with it.
I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, the inspector accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on the steamship. It was all a trap designed to lead him to France. And his own death.
How awful.
It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I gave him time to attack me. I choked him till he lost consciousness. But there was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, so I bided my time waiting for the drill. I had intended to finish him by strangulation. Moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came around and went for me in a reckless move.
That explains the shot. Oh my god. What is Mikotoba gonna think?
I received the British issue gun 16 years earlier. Being a member of the Judiciary as a visiting student. Never imagined I have to use it for something like that. So the revolver belonged to you, does it?
Didn't say anything. Then the victim was killed inside your cabin on the SS Gru. Which begs the question of why you arranged for his body to be discovered in Fresno Street.
The young judicial assistant over there has already answered the question. There's no way I could take the body up on deck to throw it on the side. That's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation drill. So before the first-class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse to the refrigerator room.
Then on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the police.
I knew I needed to take steps and the police were convinced when the body was found in London.
In that case, you must have known. You must have intimate details of Inspector Gregson's intended schedule. So there's still an agent. That pretty much confirms it.
My British counterpart sent me everything I need to know. Well, that actually confirms it. The inspector was due at Fresno Street at 5 o'clock this afternoon in order to meet a man by the name of Hugh Bone, in which he would have taken his police identification.
Oh, you knew about that too?
I decided that the man would be the perfect person to set up as the culprit, so I took a hackney carriage over there with the body still in my trunk.
Must have been just after this photograph. You gotta be kidding me. Such a happy memory curse now. Why?
I wasn't expecting a welcoming committee. I was more than a little nervous. On Fresno Street, I spotted a young girl selling little firecrackers.
Miss Venus, of course.
I conceived of the candle trick then and there. So I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate a gunshot.
What sort of disguise?
For some reason, the inspector had a bright red hairpiece in his own traveling case, so I put that on, although I suspect I drew more attention to myself than I would have otherwise.
The inspector's... My God, that's silly. The hairpiece were found at the scene. The inspector had it ready for the Redhead League investigation.
I only arrived at the room at around 4:45, so I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board, and set up the little candle trick. I arrived. I arranged it so the firecracker would go off with a bang 15 minutes later. So that Mr. Boone, who was due to arrive at 5, would walk straight into a trap. Except at the last moment, I made a careless blunder.
You dropped the gun? No, you need that. I imagine it was the bag of fish and chips.
Didn't notice that it had fallen out of his overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigerator room. I put it back in his pocket the following morning, but... well, it seems the warmth of the heated cabin had accelerated the decay of the fish.
My God. To have a character's just, like, one-off gag actually tied to the court case is beyond genius. Can we all just appreciate that?
Okay, we're done appreciating that. Anyway, that's everything. All the sordid details of what I did.
Well, where do we go from here? God, he looks like almost naked without sorry. But, like, he looks so wrong.
Anyway, enough of imagining everyone naked. I've heard enough of that. We've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days.
Here I was hoping somehow it was that sexy French woman's, like, wax mannequin the whole time. And that Gregson was still alive. No dice. God dang. Wait, how old is she again? I mean, she had a business. Listen.
For a crime of such a vile nature, you can expect the most severe penalty.
Dots. Yeah. An exchange of assassins. What a foolhardy idea. Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Who was your counterpart in Britain? Who was the mastermind? You're going to jail anyway, so F it, you know? Nothing you say can make the matters any worse. Just tell us! Huh?
Enough!
Oh, my bad.
I've already told you, I cannot say.
Was that like a turn of phrase you literally cannot say?
Even though, as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again. What are you waiting for? Can't we get this over with now? It's finished. All of it.
Oh my goodness.
I'm finished. Then, on the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson.
So we got it. Van Zieks didn't do it. We win. That was faster than I thought. That was kind of weird.
Seshiro Jigoku. It is the opinion of this court that you should be found guilty.
That exonerates Van Zieks, right?
And may I remind all those present the strict confidential demand by this closed court.
Okay. Well, that was kind of hollow. Like this hollow chalice I have. Ooh.
Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession admitting the murder of Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond doubt.
Let's go! Sorry, Cosmo. Well, actually, I'm not. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Thanks. I don't think I did much. Is something wrong? I'm just a little troubled by his silence.
The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey and his extraordinary assassin exchange. We do not remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment brought against the defendant in this trial, we have reached a conclusion.
I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries. As a prosecutor.
As you wish. Now for the formal adjudication. I hereby declare the defendant, Baron Van Zieks.
Objection!
You're kidding.
You really made me stand up to do that? Come on, you could have said so earlier.
The prosecution calls for adjudication to be deferred.
Counsel?
The accused's innocence hasn't been fully established at all. And therefore, it'd be wrong to deliver a verdict at this. He's going to accuse him of his dad's murder.
That is the prosecution's unwavering position.
I figured we're not done yet.
It wasn't all too surprising.
But Jigoku's already confessed. Nevertheless, Baron Van Zieks has committed crimes for which he must be punished.
Well, it appears you have information the court needs to hear, Asogi.
Certainly. The murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Seishiro Jigoku. But it's clear from the witness's testimony that it was coerced into complying with the plot, into the sick, merciless assassin exchange. Oh, okay, we're on the same page. That may be true, but so what I want to know is, who coerced Jigoku? Who was pulling the strings? Oh no. What was that look? The victim went to France, having been ordered on a mission for the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassin exchange is someone in position to give such an order. As we've already established, the Reaper himself.
Well, certainly that would appear to follow.
Then, the prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dock, Baron Van Zieks, of being the Reaper of the Bailey. And furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. Why do you say it like that? That was your most ridiculous one yet. I mean, really. Seems reasonable if you ask me.
Order! The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery, Counsel. Are you suggesting you have new information on which to build a case?
Scotland Yard's already investigated Lord Van Zieks very thoroughly in that regard, and they found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim he is the Reaper.
Perhaps. But circumstances have now changed. What do you mean? It's already been established that the assassin exchange has negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself, which means we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitively the man's identity. That is the prosecution's intention. I must say I'm surprised. By quite how tenaciously you appear to want to besmirch my name. You are guilty of an unforgivable crime, Lord Van Zieks. And I will bring you to justice for it. Whatever it takes. I'm here too. That explains Kazuma's silence. He'll stop at nothing to finish what Lord Van Zieks unwittingly started 10 years ago. Then again, Lord Stronghart will be like,
No, we're done here, goodbye. Ah, well. Whilst it's extremely irregular, much like Jigoku's stool, might I add, I will, on this occasion, grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. The defendant will disclose any and all involvement he had with the Reaper and the assassin exchange.
I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely.
I hereby declare this court to be in session for supplementary hearing. Get that gas back on, bailiff. Thank you very kindly. It's a little drafty up here. I'm very high up, you know. Altitude and all that. Whoa!
My hamstrings were a little sore. Apologies.
Pray, a blind eye to the discourtesy as I verify this vile and unrelenting accusation. Also, how was this rebuilt so swiftly? Hasn't soured the contents of my hallowed chalice.
Van Zieks, what
I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now, and ever since that time, I've endured the weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. Frankly, I'm sick of it. So I welcome the chance to testify and crush these allegations once and for all!
Good. Then I just let justice aside, Lord Van Zieks. The prosecution seeks to begin building its case by calling the accused to the stand as the primary witness, in order he may answer the accusation brought to the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey.
And what say the defense?
Well, I can't quit now, come on.
Playing defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous. And Kazuma-sama is so emotional at the moment, he's not thinking logically.
Well, that is true. You're right, he's not himself. I knew it'd be like this. I came here today determined to face him through whatever might arise, as a lawyer and as a friend.
That's what we must do.
I feel like we're about to screw ourselves. Oh no. The defense has no objection, my lord.
Very well. Defendant, you will take the witness stand and give formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the assassin exchange. As you wish, my lord.
Well, okay. What you got for us, sir? I would not want to be him right now.
Never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years. I was aware of Gregson's involvement. That's the reason why I went to Fresno Street that day. And how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Dr. Wilson.
Wait, what? Dr. Wilson? Excuse me?
Clearly, therefore, there's no reason to suspect me of being behind the assassin exchange.
No connection. Is that necessarily true?
So you deny all accusations by the prosecution, both that you are the Reaper of the Bailey and that you are the mastermind of the assassin exchange? I acknowledge the public at large believe me to be the Reaper. However, that's a fallacy, which I alone am in position to forswear.
Naturally. The prosecution believes the testimony just given by the accused to be untrue. Ryunosuke no Hodo. Yeah, me? Let me ask you, why are you here? What really brings you to this courtroom? It's like my job, I guess, but a desire to uncover the truth. Even if the truth proves your client to be guilty? Well, yeah. From all my experience in this courtroom, I've come to realize something. The truth can't be hidden. Sooner or later, it will come out. We saw that last time. So it's always my intention to work with my client in the pursuit of the truth. I want you to remember what you just said. Okay, I'm not scared.
Enough dilatory chatter. Counsel for the defense, proceed.
Yes, my lord. I know exactly what you're thinking, Kazuma. I know. You're just waiting to point it out. You know the contradiction, and so do I. You're convinced lies somewhere within this man's testimony. Well, I mean, we know right away there is a link between Wilson and Gregson. It was a pretty big deal, but let's just, hear him out. There's a link between you and Gregson, though.
Of course, we were closely acquainted. We worked on numerous cases together. So the man to be a mentor of sorts. He taught me a number of important lessons.
Really? Like what?
Where to buy good fish and chips, and such.
Well, that was convincing.
Dr. Wilson was a coroner, of course. That was some time in the past. In any case, I understand it was several years ago that he was invited to work at Japanese University.
Well, he did a lot more. Well, he did a lot while he was here. He's a visiting professor at the Imperial Yume University in Tokyo.
It should be ambiguously clear that no link exists between myself and him. In other words, I have no motive for sending some assassin across the ocean to kill him.
Well, Sounds plausible enough, and I want to believe it. Something that just doesn't sit right with me. As I forget, Iris's crying face. We know darn well. Where's Klint's? There it is. Klint Van Zieks. Dr. John H. Wilson. Even though Mikotoba made the report, Wilson signed the paper. So there is a link, sadly, for us.
An autopsy report? What? From 10 years ago? From the autopsy of Lord Klint Van Zieks?
My brother's autopsy report.
I'm pleased to see the defense doesn't intend to run from the undeniable truth. Genuinely, how did you know about that, Cosmo? How would you know? I found that out last night.
Order in the court. What reason do you have for presenting a 10-year-old autopsy report here?
Well, this autopsy report was of the professor's final victim. It's an undeniable link between Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson, and the defendant.
Not the accursed name again, the professor.
I've personally researched all the court records relating to that case. I know that at the time, autopsy was considered sacrilege in the victim's soul. For a member of the aristocracy like Klint Van Zieks, it was unthinkable. But someone implored the powers that be, allow the autopsy to go ahead. Inspector Gregson. He declared that he was certain he would obtain conclusive proof from the procedure.
And it was Dr. Wilson who conducted the autopsy. His signature is clearly visible on the document.
As promised by Gregson, the autopsy did indeed produce evidence. Evidence that conclusively proved Genshin Asogi was guilty of the murders. In my brother's dying moments, he mustered all his remaining strength to leave that vital clue behind.
Indeed. That was the key to indicting the professor for his crimes and conclusive evidence that convicted him. It enabled Lord Van Zieks here to avenge his brother's senseless death with a marvelously victory in court.
A marvelous victory, was it? I wonder if that's really true.
What?
Could the same be said if it turned out the key piece of evidence in question was in fact fabricated? If the inspector, the coroner, and the prosecutor all colluded together? No way. To cast an innocent Japanese man as a mass murderer and send him to his death.
That's outrageous!
And now, 10 years later, for some reason the secret has been threatened and needs protecting, which is why the inspector and the coroner had to be silenced. Isn't it? By someone in power in Japan and Britain,
Using 2 killers recruited for the assassin exchange.
Well, god dang. It's all adding up.
Order at once!
10 years ago, my father was convicted in this very courtroom as a mass murderer to be sentenced to death. But it was all a sham, and I swore to myself I'd prove it.
Which is why I had to come to Britain, whatever the cost.
I mean, God, now we get it, but what clue did they find or discover from Klint's autopsy? Scarlet ink stains visible on the little ring finger, but no document corresponding. The ink was red. Death from a single stab. This red ink. Vital evidence discovered from the victim's stomach. It doesn't mention this red ink. But yeah, whatever was discovered from the autopsy, I never thought to question it. What the heck is it?
You'll have to forgive me if I feel compelled to toast this vengeful Nipponese's tenacity of purpose here. However, he who fails to squash his emotions in the courtroom has failed as a lawyer.
Oh, buddy. You're in the wrong franchise to be saying that. Come on, Kazuma. You know this won't wash. You're claiming your father was misrepresented in trial that took place a decade ago? He must see that without evidence, there's nothing more than wild accusation. Where's the evidence? And it happens, I have it. Oh! As the court has heard, I crossed the channel to France with Gregson on the 31st. I went with him on the pretext of being the assassin recruited to kill Sashiro Jigoku, while my true intentions were to make the inspector tell me the truth. Oh God. What truth? The truth about the evidence. And he acknowledged what I had already deduced. There's a closely guarded secret about what went on in the autopsy room 10 years ago.
What? A secret? I know nothing of the sort!
While we waited for my supposed mark in Jigoku's cabin, I drew my clan illustrious sword, Karuma, for the inspector's eyes. He very quickly understood what my true motive was. Oh no.
Right, I see. Well, that Asogi young lad, are you? And what, you gonna cut me down with that thing? That it?
That will very much depend on the answer you give to my question. I want to know what really happened 10 years ago.
The truth. That's all.
Before we get into it, let me make one thing clear. I still believe your father was the professor. No doubt in my mind. But the unfortunate back then. Fortunately, back then, we didn't have the evidence we needed to make the crime stick.
So you admit it then? The evidence used in my father's trial was fabricated.
It was for the good of the country. Anyway, just following orders.
Just following orders. What exactly did you do? Speak!
I'm not saying another word.
Even if your life depends on it?
That's right. Even then.
I mean, we know he did it. Oh my God. So that's when the tip of the sword broke.
Oh, Kazuma-sama. Is anyone keeping how many times I've said that? Keeping track?
The results of Klint Van Zieks' autopsy were fabricated. Then the investigation officer, Gregson, and the lead coroner, Wilson, must have known about it. And they can only have been ordered to pervert the course of justice in that way by one man. The man leading the case for the prosecution, Baron Van Zieks.
No, wait.
In other words, the defendant did have cause to organize this exchange of assassins.
Exactly. As was established earlier, it has to be the Reaper himself who liaised with Jigoku in Japan to arrange the exchange. So, it follows the Reaper's true identity can only be that
Man who stands accused in this courtroom today, Baron Van Zieks!
who has made a compelling case. But what is this evidence? Even if it was fabricated, we got... you can't do that! No, you're in the... what?
Kazuma Asogi,
What? You can't do that. What?
what you've just told the court, are you absolutely certain of your facts?
Did Gregson really fabricate evidence of the trial 10 years ago?
I heard it with my own ears. His shameful admission.
Well, in that case, I know. The name of the Reaper.
What? What? I say it again, what?
What are you doing, Van Zieks?
I gave no such orders. I know that for certain. Which narrows down the remaining possibilities
to 1!
If Lord Van Zieks isn't the one behind it all, then yes, there's only one person who could have done something like that. Oh, the downsides of hierarchical society. I believe I know who it is, too.
You do?
Just a feeling his name was going to come up. The true identity of the infamous Reaper the Bailey. He's been with us all along. He had the power, he had the motive, and to keep crime down. I mean, god dang, man. Isn't it obvious? I'm gonna feel so dumb if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I got it. You know. Like, it's
The whole game's important to this. Are you shocked? I ain't. The only person who could have arranged the assassin exchange and manipulated the autopsy reports is Lord Chief Justice himself! Lord Mail Stronghart! Who could have seen this coming? Really, Cosmo? Like, I guess he had amnesia. It's been a while. Yes, it's true that 10 years ago, the defendant handled the prosecution of the professor in court, but he only took over the case after his brother, Lord Van Zieks, had been killed. So he had oh my god. I can only assume that this is the most inappropriate joke in British judicial history. Well, Lord Van Zieks?
10 years ago, I was very new to my profession. I had a burning desire to avenge my brother's death, so I pleaded for control of the case.
And who granted that control?
The investigation to that point, the supplication of the Lord to allow my brother's corpse to be examined, all the evidence I was given, the autopsy reports, it all came from you, Stronghart. I've spent my life since then believing I was in your debt for the way you stood aside and let me handle the trial. But I see now, I was very much mistaken.
What a calculating man. It was a hugely influential force that caused the inspector and the coroner to break the law 10 years ago, and that same force was still felt a decade later on the other side of the world by Sashiro Jigoku. Stronghart, everything falls into place when we recognize that you are the Reaper of the Bailey! But why would Jigoku not even say it? I don't get it. He was already screwed?
The court awaits your response, my lord. This may very well go down in British judicial history. But I assure you, it is no joke. Consider this a formal accusal by the defense.
The rules are just all out of whack, dude. It doesn't warrant a response. Can you do that? A formal accusal? Don't be absurd. The defense's claims are utter nonsense, a wild fantasy at best. You're not going to defend yourself? You claim there was some wrongdoing with Lord Klint Van Zieks' autopsy? That's utterly untrue.
Objection.
I heard it from Gregson's own lips. He admitted it. Where's your evidence? Gregson's dead now, I'm afraid. Unless you're thinking of summoning a ghost to the stand. Utterly ridiculous.
You mean to say...
I forget how the system works in your little backwater country, but in this court of British Empire, without evidence there is no case. I have no intention of entertaining some wild fantasy that can't possibly be substantiated by anyone or anything. Well, Fiddlesticks. He's got a point, but like, what the dump? Order in my court! Following Inspector Gregson's murder in the light of Dr. Wilson's death as well, there's really no one left who could testify. But the events 10 years ago is there.
So that was the real purpose of the assassin exchange.
The court has no business raking over the coals of a case that was concluded a decade ago. The accusal, brought by the prosecution and the defense, is categorically denied. I take it there was no objections?
Kazuma. He's more or less waited his whole life for this moment. Is there really nothing else we can do? There's no other avenue we can go down in pursuit of the truth about what happened. If only there's no one left? There is someone? Who could testify but Klint Van Zieks' autopsy? Let me think about it. Let me think about it. Oh, it says it right there! Mikotoba! He penned the report! We can get him! Right? Is he nearby? He's gone to extraordinary lengths to cover his tracks. Even so far as dispatching an assassin all the way to Japan to silence Wilson. Dr. Scythe won't say anything against Stronghart. But there's still one ray of hope. It's the only chance we got. Sasato's dad, get in here, bro, please. Actually, there is one person left. One person who could still testify about the autopsy. And my god, is it crazy that he is.
No, there's no one left. I've made sure. There is no one left.
Who, Rinosuke? Who?
Kazuma,
Please, this trial can't end. Not yet!
I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for the truth. Which, I mean, that's pretty fair.
Get him out here.
Stat.
Heaven help us, another Japanese?
What's wrong with that? An expert in forensic medicine, my lord. Professor Yuji Mikotoba. 16 years ago, he came to London with Shinjin Goku and Genshin Asogi.
What could this testimony possibly tell us?
Professor Mikotoba was the primary assistant during the autopsy in question. He was also the person who actually penned the report.
Incorrect. The autopsy was carried out by the coroner, Wilson. His signature implies his son. Well...
It was the primary assistant's duty to keep a written record for the coroner's work during the procedure. In actual fact, the coroner merely read over the report at the end and signed it.
You missed someone, Stronghart. In other words, Professor Mikotoba's witnessed the entire autopsy, from start to finish. The defense demands Professor Mikotoba be summoned as a witness, as a matter of urgency. Whatever really happened in the autopsy laboratory 10 years ago is something only he can tell us. What? You can't deny me!
The defense demand is denied. I just did. Nana boo boo, stick your head in dog do.
Professor Mikotoba is in London at this very moment. He could be summoned at any minute.
No, of course he's not going to agree to it. Stronghart has no intention of summoning anyone who knows. He's too concerned about protecting himself. He knows he'll be screwed.
Prosecutor Asogi, let me refresh your memory as you seem to have forgotten the prosecution's stance. Only minutes ago, you accused the defendant of being the Reaper and mastermind of the assassin exchange.
I did, yes.
So, present your evidence for those claims and make your case complete.
At this time, I don't have the requisite evidence, but that's exactly why we need witness testimony.
I fail to see how. The professor case is closed. There are no clues in the distant past that will bolster your argument today. I'm afraid to say, Prosecutor Asogi, that you would appear to be possessed by the spirit of your late homicidal father. Now, as stated earlier, this court has already reached a conclusion with respect to the matter at hand. Inspector Gregson was murdered by Japanese Supreme Court Judge Shishiro Jigoku. As for any hidden circumstances that may exist, they will be investigated in due course by proper authorities.
Filibustering! I love filibustering! We all know what will happen. They'll just give the mastermind the whole venture time to cover his tracks again.
By which you mean me?
The record shows he admitted to being the mastermind.
Your punishment for this contemptible behavior will be decided at a later date. As for you, Prosecutor Asogi, you will be remanded following these proceedings. Willingly, I trust, since you gave your word. Well, if we're all done here, this futile game of revenge is over, young Master Asogi!
Oh my god. I can't do What the heck was that? The scream of a madman, I guess. Took up the whole screen.
This will be all.
Wait, whoa. What? Who's that? Wasn't Asogi. Sorry I'm late. Matt, Soames, it's a closed court. What are you doing?
This is no place for amateur detection, Mr. Soames. May I remind you these proceedings are closed to the public. You will leave at once.
What is happening? Oh my god! Mr. Soames was instrumental in the apprehension of Shinjiro Goku before he led from Europe. The court will hear what he has to say. He is connected to this. Lord Mill Stronghart. It's imperative that you refrain from bringing this trial to an end at this stage.
Is it really? And why would that be?
You need only recall your own words from the opening trial to answer that question. If I may. We will not stop at anything to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Surely it can be that the shock of being accused of being the Reaper yourself has erased that of your memory, can it?
How did you even hear that? The whole truth, sir, has already been uncovered.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. It would seem that we have great many important members of the judiciary present here today. If I put it to you, my dear fellows, should the trial end at this juncture? What do you think? After all, why have you been invited to attend? To nod along to the actions of your superiors? Surely not. This is so devious.
Order in the court.
Seems to me that we stand before a door that leads to a new era of legal practice. A door that is ajar. Let us emerge from the shadows of the Reaper's decade-long ascendancy. For you, and you alone, my dear fellows, have the power to push that door open.
Marvelous! He's the man! The auditors in the gallery have no right to express an opinion of court proceedings. Silence, all of you! He's right, you know. The judge's absolute authority here.
Yes, if he recalls the trial to end, it must end. But will that really do?
I sense dark things occurring behind the scenes. Dark things indeed.
Is there really a single person who present can honestly say?
But what's going on?
The trial should go on. Someone to witness.
That's right. We need to clear this up before the young Japanese fellows remanded.
I don't think there are any girls in the court, but I like to imagine. Anyway, it could have been a feminine guy. I don't know.
My lord, you assumed those present would uncover the whole truth here. Vindicate yourself, please.
Truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's the very foundation of British law.
Well, a toast to my dependable colleagues in the gallery.
On with the trial.
On with the trial. Testify, testify, testify.
Oh, this rules.
Well, my lord, you hear the voice of British justice, I take it. I did not. I think you'll find it'll be rather awkward to silence.
God dang, Herlock Sholmes could only pull this off. He's the man. He's famous for a reason. The court will recess briefly.
Oh.
I have no intention of shrinking from these, allegations.
You don't say.
Bailiff, arrange for the subpoena of the witness at once. As soon as the gentleman arrives at the courthouse, we shall reconvene.
Our recess won't be necessary, my lord.
Oh, damn! Pardon?
Mikotoba's a close friend of mine. He accompanied me today. He's waiting in the antechamber as we speak. I do believe he's been enjoying a little trip down memory lane, in fact.
So no time to get an assassin. He's already here! Mikotoba's in the courthouse.
Mr. Sholmes,
You didn't know this would happen, did you?
my dear fellow, no one is in a better position to answer that question than you, surely.
No. I wasn't just asking for fun. No, really, how did you know? Well, I must thank you for your assistance in this matter, Mr. Schultz. However, you are no further use here. Kindly leave the courtroom at once.
Oh, but of course. In truth, I find myself rather busy now as a result of these developments. So, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yeah?
I trust you have Iris's little lucky charm with you.
Yeah. It's in my pocket.
She sends her regards. And a reminder, if you find yourself at a dead end, the ears are at your disposal. Just one target, if you please.
Yes, I won't forget. God dang, Mr. Schultz, I'm crying. Oh, God.
In that case, the trial will continue without delay. Bailiff, show the witness to the stand.
Holy dump. They don't call the Great Ace Attorney for nothing.
So, it's Lord Stronghart. He's the Reaper of the Bailey. Where exactly is this trial going to take me, I wonder? Just how deep am I going to be plunged? To the blackness of the abyss. Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to head into the heart of this maelstrom and confront whatever horrors it tries to drown me under.
Oh goodness. You again. Gory, I didn't expect to see you so soon. What the dump?
So, witness, please state your name and occupation.
Ryojin Mikotoba, lecturer in forensic medicine at the Imperial Yume University.
Staring contest going on.
Professor Mikotoba, the young lady beside you.
This is Maria Gori, Scotland Yard's practicing coroner, the daughter of Dr. Scythe, I understand?
Yes, Dr. Scythe.
I'm afraid I can't tell you why she's here. She just, appeared.
It's definitely not legal.
You summon this strange Japanese man as a witness to the autopsy, but you don't summon Mama? That makes no sense. She was there too.
That's about the size of it. I've had her eyes boring into my side of my cheek constantly. Also, I was in the antechamber too.
So she came of her own volition. Poor man, the idea of it's making me shudder. The revelations about Dr. Scythe that came to light some days ago defiled the reputation of the entire judiciary. She was therefore deemed unfit to appear as a witness in today's proceedings. The Ministry of Justice decision of that is final.
So she ain't coming out. Okay.
Well, we wouldn't want any more perjury to be committed, would we?
Okay. The Ministry of Justice. Some questionable strings are being pulled, I believe.
I remember you, Dr. Mikotoba. But I certainly never expected to be meeting you under these circumstances.
Yes, it's been a long while, Lord Stronghart.
The prosecution understands that you were a visiting student of forensic science in London 10 years ago.
That's right. I studied under Dr. Wilson at St. Sinners.
So you were present at the autopsy of my brother, Lord Klint Van Zieks?
I was, yes. I assisted Dr. Wilson with the entire procedure.
Mama is far more skilled than any Japanese man.
Oh, wow.
Well, Dr. Wilson asked me to be his primary assistant on the occasion. So there you have it.
And this autopsy report was actually penned by you, I believe.
Yes, I noted all the doctor's findings when we were done. He read through the document and signed it.
Poor Mama. A secondary assistant. She wouldn't have such a good view of all the innards.
So, Professor, do you remember Inspector Gregson?
Yeah, yes, of course. If I wasn't for him and his insistence, Lord Van Zieks' autopsy would never have happened. But he was absolutely convinced that it would reveal evidence against Genshin, you see. So Lord Stronghart had to entreat the nobility to allow it to take place. Do correct me if I'm wrong, my lord.
It was a result of that autopsy that a mass murder was apprehended and justice was done. But Gregson admitted, before he was killed, he admitted that the results of the autopsy were fabricated. You were there at the time. You must testify. You have an obligation to tell the truth about what really went on.
Absolutely. That's precisely why I'm here.
And that's why I'm here too.
Okay.
You will give your formal testimony now. But before you begin, a word of warning.
Oh?
You will state truthfully and accurately what you saw, what you heard at the time.
Would I dream of doing otherwise, my lord?
The moment your testimony verges on supposition, I will expel you from my courtroom. Remember that.
Will do.
All right. I mean, it's not a man to lie. We definitely could forget things. Also, my trust has been betrayed one time before.
My own observations couldn't say there was any indication of the autopsy reports being fabricated. Death resulted from a wound by a Western-style sword, transfixing the heart. That I found a little strange.
There were no other signs of internal injury. Nothing questionable at all. It was just that beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence removed from the man's stomach.
What was removed from his stomach? Presumed to have been swallowed by the... Sorry. So many characters. God!
Presumed to have been swallowed by the victim. as a way of posthumously identifying his assailant.
Wait, that last part, what was... I don't get it.
No indication, nothing to suggest fabrication. Really?
Mikotoba, are you certain? So, did Greggy lie?
Nothing that could possibly identify as such. I shall swear to in testimony.
Ugh. Well, that clears things up nicely. The only fabrication here, Asogi, has come from you!
Oh.
You claim the inspector confessed just before his death, but that was the fabrication. No, he freely acknowledged it, I swear! Freely, with the tip of a sword at his throat? You mean that he was clearly at wit's end? The court will give no credence to this confession that was uttered to obviously desperation. Quite simply, there was nothing questionable about the investigation of Klint Van Zieks' death. And with this testimony we have, without question, uncovered the whole truth of the matter.
Well, not so fast. Goodness, why is she staring at Mikotoba? Stop that! Goodness, you're spooky.
If I may, my lord, there was most certainly something questionable about it. Whole truth does rather elude us, I feel.
I beg your pardon?
Well, you're obviously aware of the facts of the case. All four of the professor's previous victims died when an enormous beast was set upon them, ripped out their throats.
Oh, but Klint was different. Right.
Curiously, the killer's last victim had a different fate.
You're right. The sword.
He was stabbed through the heart.
That's enough. I believe I warned you about this, witness. I promise to curtail your testimony as soon as I enter the realm of supposition or speculation.
Very well. We'll take that account out. In that case, the defense will pursue a conclusion to this cross-examination.
What?
I have the right to cross-examine, no? And I fully intend to exercise that right.
Ryunosuke.
I'm afraid that even the presiding judge has no authority to contravene the letter of the law. And I'm sure every member of the judiciary present in the gallery would agree.
No, we don't need another chanting spot. Oh, there they go. Do it, no balls. Very well, you may begin. However, the moment your argument strays from the established facts, I will not hesitate to bring the cross-examination to an end. Proceed with caution.
Yes, my lord. I'm worried! Oh no! Okay, so we have to press him to say something in relation to what he just previously said. That's the hint I'm getting. Oh, thank God I healed. I forgot. All right.
From my own observation, I couldn't say there was any indication in the autopsy report having been fabricated. Death resulted from a wound
With a Western-style sword. Why is the sword strange? Why do you say that? Just for the record of everyone else in the courtroom. And all the previous 4 killings attributed to the professor. The victim was killed by an enormous dog, I believe. Their throats were mauled.
Correct. Yet Van Zieks was stabbed. Curious.
Do you mean to say you think Klint Van Zieks may not have been one of the professor's victims? Oh.
There's no basis on which to doubt the findings of the investigation at the time. Genshin Asogi confessed to all his crimes upon his arrest. He admitted to having taken the lives of all 5 members of the aristocracy.
Dang. I mean, who's to say that wasn't under duress? I don't know.
Yet the beast that was used to carry out the killings was never identified. No evidence was found to suggest that Genshin had ever kept a dog.
A true hound of hell.
Okay. Kazuma, to the stand. Was your papa a dog person or not?
No signs of internal injury. Nothing questionable at all.
Okay. But, you weren't actually present at the autopsy, were you, Gory?
Does that matter?
Kinda when it comes to the court of law. Just wonder how useful your testimony can be in that case. I mean, it'd be different if your mother, Dr. Scythe, were here, but, you know.
I've read all the paperwork about the case, and Mama's told me the story countless times. The statement I just made is exactly what's written in the autopsy report.
I did confirm that myself at the time. It's true. So there's a stab wound there with no signs of internal trauma.
Okay, nothing internal. Okay. Gory? Oh, there we go.
Mama told me all about it. She said there was nothing of note internally. But they did find an amazing piece of evidence. Something unbelievable.
Oh, you don't say. Unbelievable. Come on, Dr. Gory. What was it? Out with it!
I forgot.
Okay, no, she remembers. It was the beautiful but dangerous piece of evidence from the man's stomach. What? Huh? What could be dangerous about? What did he eat?
Well, it was sparkling and round with a hole. As if it might slip over a finger. Perhaps.
He ate a donut?
It was a ring, you fool, belonging to Genshin Asogi.
He ate my father's ring!
At the time, Genshin wore a large ring on the digitus quarters of his left hand, fourth or ring finger. I understood it was some sort of keepsake.
When my father left Japan for London, 16 years ago, I was 8 years old. I remember that ring.
Wait, you do?
My father's possessions were sent to our family home in Japan after his death. But the ring wasn't among them.
Oh my god.
Obviously not. It was a key piece of evidence. It remains under lock and key in the stores at Scotland Yard.
After the autopsy, Genshin was summoned by the police to check for the presence of his ring. It wasn't on his hand, of course. Moreover, there were deep abrasions on his finger where it had pulled off.
Okay. Why would he feed him his own ring? Unless I know he's going around. No, he didn't do this. Right? I don't know.
They arrested the man here and then, right before my eyes.
How could they?
I brought the ring along with me today.
Happy for you?
Here it is. A bit dusty from years in the stores.
Good gracious. That's it. Haven't seen it in 10 years.
And that was found inside the victim's stomach.
Dude, that pretty much sums it up. Gregson was adamant for the autopsy because they planted that evidence. But how did they get his ring? That I can't explain. If we can explain that, we're good.
I'm afraid so.
You hesitated there, Professor Mikotoba. Should we read something into that?
Well, just thinking back now. I didn't actually witness the moment it was extracted from the victim's body.
Really? I said that, but Sasato also said it in unison, so I'll go ahead and say.
Really?
Okay, is that good?
That precise moment, Dr. Wilson asked me to fetch him a new scalpel, you see.
Dr. Gory! Gory in the house. Doesn't sound too good. Probably only stay on air for a week or so. The removal of historic evidence from the stores requires my consent, does it not?
I'm in my rebellious phase, you see.
Oh, kids.
However, it came to be here. The court cannot deny this crucial evidence for today's proceedings.
Very well, you may submit it.
Okay, now don't mind if I look at this thing. It's not the sort of ring normally seen in Japan. They almost look like claws protecting the jewel. Let me get a closer look at that thing. Seems pretty standard. These fat claws do a good job protecting the equally fat gemstone.
Yes, you're clumsy. Gave yourself a rather nasty cut on them, I think.
Ow! Now my finger's bleeding. The claws really are sharp. Huh.
That was a very quick clumsiness, Mr. Naruhodo. Even for you. Instantaneous.
Who would make such a dangerous ring? You couldn't swallow it without doing some fairly serious damage. Okay.
A sticky mochi bun, but the size would go down much better with some red bean paste.
Oh god, so Japanese. They sure do love our red bean paste. Someone as clumsy as me would probably manage to choke on it somehow. Is that really all there is to it? I guess you can't really remove the, gemstone. That's kind of the point. Rather fishy. Okay.
We must examine it. Oh, wait, we already did that?
Yeah, my bad. My bad. Genuinely, I presumed to have been swallowed by the victim as a way of posthumously identifying his assailant. Well, Mr. Van Zieks, that would not be an easy swallow. Hard to say. And that was the decisive piece of evidence that led to Genshin Asogi's arrest?
Correct.
After further investigation by Scotland Yard, the man admitted to his crimes. That's a lie. My father was no killer. Klint Van Zieks, it was you. You twisted the truth to suit your purposes.
Your hatred of me doesn't change the facts that were established 10 years ago. My brother Klint had closed in on the professor. In the end, he exposed the man and put a stop to his lethal rampage. In the way only a man of my brother's caliber could.
Well, okay. He said he swallowed it. All we need to say is we find that hard to believe.
Poor father, he looks so troubled.
That's because 10 years ago something happened that's weighing on his mind.
Oh?
Couldn't say were his words. Phrasing was very deliberate.
I wonder if he'd had suspicions all these years.
If that's the case, we need to use the cross-examination to prove it. Presumably to be swallowed. Let's see if this sticks.
Objection.
No dice. Counsel of the defense, I object to that last statement. You can never swallow this thing.
And as the judge, I deny your objection. There is no contradiction here. Other than the fact that a Far Eastern lawyer is practicing in British law.
You literally... Dude, you can't... Oh my god, this crap goes so deep. Remember McGilden? Who got us on that case? Stronghart! I forgot about that! Okay. So Susato was saying it's something about Mikotoba. Where is Mikotoba's... He has two. Death resulted from a wound by a Western-style sword transfix. That I found strange. From my own observation, I couldn't say there was any indication of autopsy reports that had been fabricated. Did we press that one? I don't think so. Let's give it a shot, just to be thorough. You couldn't say.
No, sadly not.
Then you couldn't say there wasn't any indication either, could you?
No, true, I couldn't. I was at Dr. Wilson's side as he performed the procedure, recording what he did. And at times, of course, he instructed me to fetch implements. Whilst I was away from the operating table, obviously I could have missed something.
At that time, what was the secondary assistant doing? Oh.
Following this Japanese man's orders. To adjust the lighting or pass him implements. That doesn't mean Mama wasn't a vital part of the team.
Oh, no one's saying that, young lady. Quite, yes. You would kindly refrain from staring at my cheek like that.
Enough of this! Mikotoba, think! Was there nothing at all that seemed out of place?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact.
That resulted from a wound by a Western-style sword transfixed to the heart. That I found a little strange. Western sword was in his stomach. Claws clasping the gem looked sharp enough to be a very nasty scratch. Do we know for sure it was a sword? Or maybe
Objection.
a ring? You're kidding me.
You fool, it was in his stomach. How would it reach his heart?
I skipped anatomy class. I was studying for a lawyer school. Oh, crap. It's the very start of the trial, and I'm already 2 hearts down. Oh, God. No signs of internal injury. I find that hard to believe. Is this not a counter? Genuinely. I mean, if it's not the ring, what is it?
Objection.
Okay, thank God. Woo! The final boss has been defeated? No, surely not. The court has heard that the ring was extracted from the victim's stomach, but you didn't actually see it being removed. Did you, Mikotoba?
That's right. As I said, I was, fetching. And at the moment, I was getting a scalpel.
In other words, you can neither confirm nor deny whether this ring in fact really came from the victim's stomach.
What are you suggesting?
It didn't. It was never in his stomach. That's the fabricated part. Dude! The ring was never in the victim's stomach at all. It was entirely feasible that Dr. Wilson fabricated that detail.
What are you saying? Dr. Wilson was in on it?
Dr. Wilson was in possession of the ring in advance, after it was somehow stolen from Mr. Asogi. And he produced it during the procedure, pretending to have it there and then in the victim's stomach. But if what Gory's saying is true, how would you swallow the ring? Oh my god. Oh my god, I get it.
Supposition at best.
What possible evidence do you have to support such a rash claim?
Well, the evidence is right here.
That's the autopsy. It explicit in that report, Counsel. Other than the ring, nothing unusual was
How'd it get there? Think about it. You've done it for me, my lord. The lack of internal injury says it all.
What?
To swallow a ring of this size would require considerable effort and determination. In addition to its size, there are sharp claws around the gemstone to contend with.
My brother was a determined man. He could eat 100 rings if need be. On the brink of death, even more so, I'm sure. He would have stopped at nothing to ensure that evil killer was brought to justice.
Oh, so you're implying he ate the ring off of his killer? I mean, maybe. But if he really had swallowed that enormous ring, it's inconceivable no traces of his passage down the throat would have remained as internal trauma.
No.
Yes. Well?
And there you've arrived at the sticking point. That's precisely why I had my doubts about the findings 10 years ago.
Then why didn't you say anything at the time?
I did. I still remember the conversation I had with Dr. Wilson in the laboratory that day.
Okay. Well, Mikotoba wouldn't sound old because it was 10 years ago. He sound average, like, a dad.
Look at this.
Try my white guy voice.
Now, this is a very curious thing to find in a man's stomach, wouldn't you say?
But isn't that rather peculiar, Dr. Wilson?
What's that now, Mikotoba?
Well, if he swallowed a ring of that size with those sharp metal claws, that is, surely you'd expect to see damage in the throat and esophagus. Torn mucous membranes at the very least.
Mikotoba, you say the silliest things. May I remind you that I have vastly more experience than you?
I'm terribly sorry.
I can think of plenty of ways to explain why no injuries would have been seen. Now, let's say this. The victim would appear to have ingested the item as evidence to identify his assailant. Go ahead, write it down.
Okay.
So I was right.
Dr. Wilson deliberately fabricated the results of the autopsy to implicate my father. How'd they get his ring then? Like, really?
I'm disappointed, Counsel. That argument is nothing but more speculation. What? Dr. Wilson was Britain's leading authority on forensic science and autopsy work.
Oh, come on.
There's no scientific basis on which to doubt the man's expert opinion.
Pardon the interruption, my lord, but damage to the mucous membrane of the throat is easily identified even in living subjects.
Using a device called an endoscope, recently demonstrated in practical use in France. I want one. The government can pay.
She's such a little brat.
I don't think so, young lady. Do your homework. Rest assured that your removal of evidence from the stores without permission will not go unpunished.
But I want to go to the mall. There's a bear that killed thousands of people. We open up the dead to find the truth.
How's that? You're kind of quiet. I got to boost you in post.
No, really, I beg your pardon. You're so quiet with that mask on.
Oh, sorry. But Mama, she chose to stitch her corpses up with all her secrets inside. That's wrong.
She's scaring the piss out of me. What are you talking about?
Dr. Gory? It's looking as though she's chosen to walk a different path to her mama after all. Yay!
Very well. Yes, the ring.
What about the ring?
I've just remembered something. An earlier incident.
What incident?
The one I encountered you before. A memory I have. Of Genshin Asogi saving my life.
Do you have the ring on?
My father saved your life?
Yes, it was a very cool flashback. Here it is again. It was 10 years ago on a foggy night. Genshin and I were walking down some back street at a late hour. And all of a sudden...
Don't make a peep. You're coming with us. Boys, lasso him. Yeah! He has it! It's right there!
Oliver, Jesus Christ, what's wrong with me? I'm a little too into this, bro.
All of us saints were armed with pistols. And horses. And one of them was missing all their teeth. Their faces obscured by scarves. The next thing I knew, silence. Genshin lay on the cobbled street, blood seeping from his left hand. He'd shielded me.
Wait, his left hand. The ring. What does that mean?
It was on his ring finger.
Then, what are you saying?
I've always believed those thugs were after me. But now I'm starting to question it, perhaps. I wasn't the intended target.
But...
Genshin was arrested 2 days after that attack. And in that short interval, the decisive evidence needed to indict him was miraculously found. Blood on his ring.
The ring was stolen from him. You think that's what those thugs were after? Really?
Objection.
I mean, it's easy to put it... Oh, what the... I'll let you have your moment, but my mind's racing.
You pathetic coward. You expect me to believe that you weren't involved?
What do you mean by that?
It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who took it. You stole Father's ring. You set the whole thing up so you could paint him as a mass murderer.
Oh, Naruhodo! Kazuma. Open your eyes. Ryunosuke? You must know deep down. The truth can be completely obscured, even with your judgment is only slightly clouded. But at the moment, you seem to be floundering through a dense fog. Is that what you were so insistent I should be present in this trial? See you like this?
Well, this is amusing spectacle. What a grandiose expression on your face, as if you were Lady Justice herself. It seems you've thoroughly convinced yourself of alleged fabrication of autopsy results, so much so you're apparently blind to the blatant contradiction that would be born of it.
Excuse me? What contradiction would there be? His mucous membrane wasn't intact.
Though it's extremely hard to believe, let us imagine that there was some misconduct during the autopsy. If that were the case, why would Asogi not have disputed the findings in his trial?
All right, he could have made the same argument. Why would that not brought up? I don't know, I wasn't there.
In the closed court hearing 10 years ago, the defendant never once denied the claims against him. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zieks?
Yes, that's indeed correct. Upon hearing the verdict of guilt, he merely closed his eyes, quietly accepting the judgment.
What if they said, we'll kill your son? Or something to that degree. You know, it's possible. Oh, but how would they track him down? You know?
The actions of a man who's accepted responsibility for his deeds and resigned to his fate.
But then... oh my. This is very strange. Mr. Asogi did nothing to oppose the charges. Then, that would surely mean there was no fabrication.
I don't get it. Unless this information wasn't present in the courtroom, it couldn't have been asked for. You know what I mean? Maybe the prosecutor... Well, it was Van Zieks. He had to know about it. Of course it was there.
An obvious conclusion at which you should have arrived many minutes ago, Prosecutor Asogi. You twisted loyalty and clouded judgment are hampering your ability.
How many grunts am I gonna do for Asogi, dude?
Genshin Asogi's silence at his hearing can merely mean one thing. There was no fabrication of evidence during the autopsy of his final victim 10 years ago.
Wait, hold on. It was a little delayed. But if the autopsy was all above board, nothing stopped Lord Stronghart bringing this trial to an immediate conclusion. Huh? Who was that? Oh, yeah, that's what he sounds like.
Thank you, Ryunosuke. If it wasn't for your frank words just now, this trial may very well have ended permanently. Prematurely.
What did I even do? Oh, yeah, say like, dude, chill.
What's this latest absurdity?
My lord, your reasoning is perfectly sound.
But for one giant hole. I beg your pardon?
You claim my father's silence was due to the fact there was no fabricated evidence.
There's another possible explanation. You're overlooking the possibility that he had a reason for maintaining that silence.
Yeah, he had a motive behind it.
Silence that would lead him to being convicted and sent to his death?
If that autopsy results were an invention, there's no conceivable way the man would have protested.
Objection!
There is. I mean, he cared for someone. Obviously so.
Those results were an invention, all right. There's no question of that. Are you forgetting that 2 people with a connection to the autopsy have been assassinated? If I force the grievances I feel from my mind, I start to see you in a very different light. I think perhaps it's you who's been living in delusion these 10 years. Whoa! Whoa!
Me.
Kazuma-sama's created one last chance for us, Naruto. If we could only show there was a reason for his father's silence in this trial.
Let's see. We got the Asogi papers. Harsh reprimand. That's not important. Let me look at this one more time. No, this is not relevant. What crap? That's the wrong thing. Dang it. Okay. The Asogi papers. Request upon my death, all my possessions and the sword? It is my deep sadness I accept my fate in this foreign land, the knowledge I will never see my homeland again. I regret nothing on my chosen path. Am I tripping or... Okay, all material possessions. Obviously, the sword is incredibly important to him. Be delivered to my son, Kazuma Asogi. But I mean, despite this, he will have a last will and testament. Then we're going to withhold his sword. That's not part of an agreement. Let me look at the autopsy report again. Scarlet ink stains, visible little ring finger on the right hand. No documents corresponding ink was found. What is going on with Klint's right hand? I don't know, man. For some reason, this sword just seems really important. Like, both games have been about it. It's going to come up. A reason why the man said nothing even through his innocence. Could have been part of a negotiation. Okay, maybe I'm on the mark.
Enough rhetoric. The court must be shown evidence. What put you...
Oh, god dang it. Asogi's silence. What even pertains to Asogi in our evidence other than the sword and god dang his last will and testament? Here's my thought process. This could potentially prove, or at least get us on the right path that, yeah, he, you know, there was a reason behind it. This is the defense's answer to that question. Are you joking?
And as indicated before, my patience with rhetoric is growing thin.
Okay.
If Kazuma-sama's father knew that the evidence being used to convict him was fabricated, why would he have said nothing in the trial?
For me, I protest my innocence until it's blue in the face.
So if we're right about the autopsy results, there must have been a strong reason for his silence.
Well then, perhaps he was saying nothing in exchange for some sort of clemency? That could be it. Clemency?
Enough rhetoric. The court must show evidence.
Okay. What on earth? Okay, why would he say nothing? Let's operate under the assumption that they had this in court. Right? We know that because it was stored and then stolen. So obviously they had it. Why am I so stuck on that? Oh, because he had the escape plan. But who was assisting with that? Oh my god, was it Dr. Scythe? I mean, it had to be. But she knew something was bogus? How do we explain that? If he knew he was cooked, but he had a backup plan, yeah, why protest? How do I indicate... Okay, that's like the start of the game, right? Or the start of the chapter. Feels like the start of the game. God, this trial's long. Introduction. No. What does it say? Details of escape were being investigated. His escape. Please? I'm too... Take that! I'm clenching so hard. It's true that Genshin Asogi's silence during this trial resulted in his conviction. But that didn't actually lead to his execution. On the contrary, it led to his escape. An escape that was only possible because he'd been sentenced to death. Although I find it hard to believe my father would have negotiated in that way, the defense is correct. Oh, thank God. A fake execution, falsification of a death certificate, and a jailbreak inside of a coffin. Clearly such an elaborate plan couldn't have been carried out by my father alone. He had help. He must have had the help of a collaborator of the judiciary. I have here the dismissal notice of Chief Warder, who was working in the prison at the time. Note reads, there are indications the jailbreak was planned prior to the inmate's incarceration. In other words, there were suggestions of some sort of negotiation between Asogi and the British government. Oh, dang. Oh, dang! If there really was, top brass people helping him, then maybe this was like, well, we can't catch the real killer. You take the fall and get out of here. Otherwise, we'll kill you. Holy dump. In exchange for his silence in court, he was given an assurance that he would be broken out of prison. Yes, with that sort of clandestine agreement in place, I can imagine he would have kept very quiet. Less leaked the plan. I would go further than that. In fact, I'd say the elaborate jailbreak of Mr. Asogi can be explained in no other way. It was all an inside job, Scythe, and you know what? If it was an inside job, and someone has a habit of killing everyone involved, I'm just saying, it's not looking good for you, Stronghart. First fabricated evidence, now a jailbreak conspiracy. It's no conspiracy. It's all intimately linked. The prosecution wishes to summon new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses? People who can testify about the jailbreak that took place 10 years ago. Well, that's...
Governor, Caden, and the poor Chief Warder at the prison. Them again?
I won't allow this trial to turn into a farce. To summon the governor of prison after all these years.
Oh, we didn't want to be in trouble, my lord.
Let me guess, he's already here? Oh, no.
Father?
My dear friend may appear a little autopatted at times. I can assure you he was extremely thorough. He wired both Barclay and the local prison earlier, asking Governor Caden and Mr. Vigil to attend the Old Bailey. It's a matter of extreme urgency.
So he... Mr. Sholmes thinks of everything, doesn't he?
Are you telling me that they're...
Both men are, unless I'm mistaken, waiting right outside the courtroom door at this very moment.
Oh my god. You know Strongheart's heart is pounding. My lord, you must permit this trial to proceed as declared at its outset.
You promised that we would stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth.
Well, you're a man of your word, aren't you?
Bring in the witnesses! Make no mistake, I too would like nothing more than to lay this business to rest once and for all.
Yeah, I wonder why. God, what a hateable man. He's
gonna have a sad backstory. Everyone I know was murdered. I will clean up crime with the power of the Reaper.
I can see it coming a mile away, bro. Still don't mean... Goodness.
Will the new witnesses state their names and occupations, please?
Oi, Barry Kaiden, Governor of Barclay Prison.
That's what everyone called me. Everyone calls me Gossip. Your other persona, sir? Oh, I do beg your pardon, of course. There we go. My name is Daily Vigil. I used to be the chief warder of Barclay Prison some time ago.
The reason you've been summoned here to court today is testified by the jailbreak of the so-called professor.
Oh, Losh! The professor? We already been through that a decade ago. And the conclusion was that there wasn't anything up about it.
Well, a convict escaped from your prison, Governor. Hardly what you call nothing untoward.
Oh, well,
Convict's death certificate was somehow falsified after he was allegedly executed, and he escaped that prison inside his own coffin. A plan of that complexity could never have been carried out without the help of somebody of influence inside the prison. Governor Kaiden, don't imagine that the passage of time will afford you any protection. Turns out that you were involved in the plot to break Asogi out of prison. Then, of course, the consequences will be very serious. In all likelihood, a capital punishment.
Oh, gods! Hold on there, laddie.
Witness, Governor Kaiden.
Oh, yes, sir.
You have a critical role to play in the public safety of our country. A great responsibility to shoulder. The significance of your testimony in court cannot be understated. Therefore, think carefully before you speak. I should really take my own advice. And Prosecutor Asogi, if you threaten the witness again, you will be held in contempt.
Okay. Let me do the talking, Cosmo. I gotcha. My apologies. There's no disputing the fact that intricate jailbreak plot was enacted 10 years ago. Clearly, you were both involved in some way. So you will testify before the court now and explain exactly what happened.
Very well. Let the witness give their formal testimony. Tell the court everything you know about the plot to break Asogi out of Barclay.
Okay. Should be easy enough. I mean, well, Vigil's memory loss, but something Kaiden says will be of use.
It was the day the Japanese jock was found guilty. The director came from the prosecutor's office. I signed the convict chief warder Vigil here. Put the plan into action behind the scenes.
I was responsible for Asogi right up until the night of execution, but I knew nothing of any plot.
I didn't care that there's some negotiations between the convict and the prosecutor's office. All I did was carry out my duty. For Her Majesty's great British Empire.
Okay. It seems like almost everything he says is above board. A directive from the prosecutor's office? Are you saying that was the jailbreak plot? What?
Oi, that's right.
Who sent it? Who authorized this plan?
I dunno, Ken, then?
What? What are you saying? I don't understand you at half the time. You're saying you don't know.
Listen, there was nothing about the professor case that was unusual in some way. I didn't ask any questions. I just did what I was told to do. Or not, I couldn't tell you.
I see. But if the jailbreak plan originated from the prosecutor's office, then one thing is very clear. I suspected there were clandestine dealings going on between Asogi and that office. The jailbreak was promised in exchange for Asogi admitting to the crimes he didn't commit.
But why? I still don't get that part.
That, counsel, is nothing more than speculation. So, let me ask the defense.
Yeah?
I fail to see how these witnesses have any more pertinent information.
Oh, you know that means they got something.
Do you intend to assert your right?
Oh yeah, I'm going. I have no intention of squandering a single opportunity.
It seems all you Japanese are fiercely tenacious. Very well. Proceed, counsel.